Facebook and everybody else. Let's see.
727-332-5552.
No. What?
And that's him.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That's Clark. Clark, I know you can hear us. We'll bring you on after we open the show. But yeah, that 2023 vet, $206,000.
Mm.
I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing you can say about that. There really isn't. Yeah.
1 minute until showtime.
I guess you can afford the $3,000 tires.
I suppose so. Yeah. If you can afford that. I mean, and like my grandson said, he said, it's not a Chevy. He said, it doesn't even look like a Chevy. I said, it looks like a Ferrari. And he goes, yeah, more so than a Chevy. I mean, the lines on it and the shape and everything, it doesn't look like a Chevy.
Yeah.
But, and I thought it was hybrid, but it's not. It's straight gas engine. The little sticker on the window says, 13 miles to the gallon, which
Oh, God.
when you start driving on the road, that's going to drop down to 10 or less. I mean, because it never gets what the sticker says.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
10 seconds?
Almost time.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, I got 13, 11, 10.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4,
6 seconds
3, 2, 1.
3, 2.
Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go.
This is All About Wine, the talk show dedicated to the wine industry since 2009. Featuring winemaker, cellar master, vineyardist, and tasting expert, Ron.
Basically, what we're trying to do on this program is just trying to educate people and trying to make wine less confusing and more friendly.
From coast to coast and around the world.
We really have had some neat people on the program. I love that.
Post your questions and comments during the live show on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. Again, that's www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. And now, All About Wine is on. Here's Ron.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I got to share something before we bring our guest on here. I was at a Chevy dealer today and had my oil changed. And while I was there, they had a 2023 Corvette sitting on the showroom floor. I mean, it was pretty. It was white with, these alloyed rims and really, really pretty. And I walked around and I looked at it from front to back, and then I walked up and I looked at the sticker price that was on the window, $206,000. And I took a stagger step backward. Unbelievable. But we have a guest tonight. He's already sitting in the wings in the green room waiting for us. So he is Clark Smith, author and an educator and an industry consultant. And what got me to get him on the show was, what was it, 2 months ago, something like that. I had the opportunity and privilege of listening to a podcast that he was part of. And we will have the other half of that podcast on in a couple of weeks, actually. But he was part of a podcast that talked about Native American grapes. And it was really, really interesting. So I wanted to get him on and let you talk about it. That's why I haven't posted the podcast on the Facebook page, because I want to get these guys on first and let them talk a little bit about it. And then I'll post the podcast so you can listen to it. So without further ado, we're going to bring Clark onto the show. Welcome to All About Wine, Clark.
Well, thank you, Ron. It's an honor to be asked.
No, the honor is ours, I guarantee you. I love the podcast that you were on. It was so interesting. And I'm sitting there scribbling notes and trying to keep up with it and everything. And then at the end, they'll say, well, we'll send this to you and you'll have, and I'm going, wow, all this note taking is for naught. So, but I really enjoyed it. It was interesting. Native American grapes. I've talked to a lot of wineries around the country and all that, and most people, it seems, don't grasp the importance or the virtues of Native American grapes. I did have one guy on who was from Mike. You might be able to help me on this. What was it? Arkansas or Alabama, but I had one guy on Kentucky, I believe, who sang the praises of Native American grapes. He said that we need to start promoting these. We need to start getting these out there. And I told him, I said, people aren't aware of them. They don't like them. He said, we need to teach them. We need to educate them. So we're taking that first step tonight to educate some people on Native American grapes. So
that's great. It's a very strange situation. There are really two wine industries. I don't think hardly anybody is really aware of this. We got about 12,000 wineries in the United States. Mm-hmm. And what you see on the shelf, the nationally distributed brands, there's only about 65 of them. And they make all the wine in national distribution. And what they're trying to do is make the standard Cabernet, the standard Chardonnay. And you may have noticed there might be 40 Chardonnays on the shelf, but they all taste the same. That's what that industry is trying to do. Just like it could be cigarettes or soda pop, they want consistency. And the last thing that anybody wants to put on the shelf is an interesting wine. Because people don't understand them. One of the problems with the wine industry is in most places it's illegal to sample the wine. And so you just kind of have to go on instinct or reviews or something like that. Okay, so that's one industry. It comprises about 95% of all the wine that's sold, but it's really only about 10,000 to maybe 20,000 SKUs in the entire country. But there are actually over 500,000 SKUs, and they're all being produced by these little mom and pops all over the country. It's not all California anymore. About 2/3 of those wines are being made, like you say, in Alabama or North Dakota, just everywhere. And the average size there, for those 65 guys, the average size is over 1 million cases. For the other 12,000, it's 2,000 cases. So they're little tiny mom and pops, and they're now being able, with these new Native American grapes, heirloom grapes from the 19th century, and a whole lot of hybrids that are being developed principally at University of Minnesota and Cornell. These new varieties that are cold tolerant. And they're really good wines. So we have this thing, I call it the invisible rainbow, the kind of secret American wine revolution that nobody has access to because none of them have national distribution.
Well, part of that problem, too, is the distributors. I am not a fan of the three-tier system. Okay, let me get that right out in front.
Yeah.
My listeners know this because I've, griped about it many times. But that is part of the problem because the distributors won't take these small wineries. I had a small winery here in Florida, okay, and I had the good fortune of having my distributor's license along with my manufacturer and retail, which is a rarity. And I was able to get the wines out into different places. But I'll tell you, the distributors and just hate that when you can distribute your own, because they want a piece of the pie, and if it doesn't sell, then they just pull it off, or they reduce the price or whatever. And so these mom and pops can't afford that. And so what's the solution? I don't know.
Well, the thing is, two things about these guys. One of them is, I think they're really short-sighted, because they should want people to get interested in these, like I said, interesting wines as a kind of a gateway drug to just drinking wine all the time. And of course, they have the distribution advantages that they can do it cheaper. So that's one thing. The other is, everything they're doing is unconstitutional. It was made very clear in 2005 in Granville versus Hill, and then again reaffirmed in the Tennessee case a couple of years ago, that the three-tier system is against the law. It's just the dormant commerce clause in the Constitution basically says that you either forbid your own wineries to sell wine to their customers, except through a distributor, or you got to let everybody else in. And everybody knows this, and they've just been fighting it. And so little by little, I'm a big fan of Tom Wark. I'm sure you know his work. Mm-hmm. He's out there with the National Retailers Association, and they're just suing these states one by one. The whole thing's going to collapse. Because it really is kind of a dinosaur anyway.
Oh, it is. It's been around since Prohibition ended, and it's time to stop it. I mean, almost 100 years now. I had a Florida legislature on. He was talking about that, and he said that the states, a winery needs to get some backing and sue the three-tier system because it is because of the Commerce Clause, and
right.
But there's no money. That any small winery doesn't have the money or the time to pursue that. And
no, it has to be coalitions like the National Retailers Association, because they want this too.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you can't get any wines from Texas here in Florida because it's just distributed in Texas. You can't get any wines from Pennsylvania here in Florida because it's just in Pennsylvania. And I can name 48 other states the same way. And
well, now hold on. There's two different distribution systems. There's the one where you go through a distributor, and then there's direct to consumer. They're completely different licenses.
Yeah.
Now, it's a lot of money for a little winery to get a direct-to-consumer license for all 50 states.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a way around that. And there's something called Vino Shipper. And they've got about 3,000 wineries that they distribute for. And the way it works, this is just direct-to-consumer. So this doesn't help out those retailers. But if I sell you a bottle of wine through Vino Shipper, they have all the licenses. And so just for a magic moment there, they will take possession of the wine and ship it to you under their license.
Okay.
So it's like, it's a really good system. And so the effectiveness, which is really humorous, is masters of wine and hand sell shops and master sommeliers, anybody running a business has no access to the American wine revolution. They can only, they're not masters of wine, they're masters of Southern wine and spirits.
Yeah.
and you as an individual can get 100 times as much wine. You can access that whole 500,000 SKUs that's out there And there are some really good wine. You mentioned Pennsylvania, Galen Glen there. I'm the editor for Appalachian America, and they are on my list of the top 12 wineries in the United States.
Wow.
In Texas, well, you must know, you're Florida, right? So do you know about Blanc de Bois?
Yeah, oh yeah. Blanc de Bois is very popular down here. There's quite a few wineries.
It's really good. It was developed in Florida, and there's a guy named Chris Brundrett of William Chris in High, Texas, that makes 6 of them. And the one that's the Sur Liège Loire style is another wine that's on our list of the top 12 wines in the United States that nobody ever heard of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so how do you... Somebody walks into a store, though, and they don't have the opportunity to see anything else, so they do their default wine. They do their Cabernet or their Woodbridge or their whatever. And how do we get these other names out there? How do we do that?
Well, it's starting to happen. I actually got a call yesterday from a San Francisco retailer that had decided to bring in these wines.
Really? San Francisco? Wow.
Now there's another way around this for the business to business people. There's an outfit called LibDim, Liberation Distribution.
Never heard of
that. Now, oh well, they're the bomb. If I were to sell you through the 3-tier system a $20 bottle of Cabernet, that retailer would have bought that. They're going to mark it up 50%, so they would have bought it for $15. The distributor would have bought it for $7.
Mm-hmm.
So my cost of goods needs to be about $4 and a quarter. And then, of course, these distributors don't do anything for you, so all the marketing costs have to come out of my pocket as well. And if I'm really good at it, for that $20 Cabernet, I'll end up making 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
but Liberation Distribution doesn't charge that. They don't charge 60% markup. They charge 15%.
Wow.
And they don't do anything either, except have the licenses. And they're now in about a dozen states, growing all the time. And the best part is they don't vet you. So if I've got a Kansas City Norton, and there are a bunch of really good ones.
There are, yeah.
Then I can just go into LibDib and sign myself up, and that's it. It takes about 30 minutes, and then I can sell to all the states that they sell in, of which I don't know whether Florida is on the list. But that's what's happening. That we're gonna break this monopoly through those two outfits and more like them. So all of a sudden, that Galen Glen Gruner Veltlinger I was telling you about from Lehigh, Pennsylvania, she's got it on the shelf in San Francisco.
Wow. And to get it on anything in California is an accomplishment, I think, is because California is so locked into California. It's not even,
we are pretty provincial here. But, people are getting a little bored. Not everybody. Most people are perfectly content to just have Cabernet and Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. But the people that are really into it, like you and me, we're only about 5% of the population, but we are bored. And we're looking for adventure. And tapping into this American wine revolution is just one of the great joys of my life. So I usually, I'll just go on the internet and get them through Vino Shipper. But now I can just walk right down to the corner in San Francisco and buy a lot of these wines. And of course, she's picking out the best ones. And honestly, I would rather drink an Iowa La Crescent than any white wine from California. I think California makes the worst wine in the country. And the reason is that we hate our grapes. So, like Napa Chardonnay is a disgrace because it doesn't taste like Chardonnay. It just tastes like oak and butter because we do all this manipulation with it.
When I said that, people get so mad at me.
The ones that love the butter?
Yeah. And the oak. In fact, I told people, I said, when you buy a Chardonnay and it's got a whole bunch of oak in it, I said, don't say, ooh, this is good because it's got oak. I said, the question you should be asking is, what was wrong with this wine that the winemaker had to put so much oak in it to cover it up? And
that's because Napa Valley is a shitty place to grow Chardonnay.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They oak their Chardonnay so much to cover up, and you don't really taste the Chardonnay anymore. You don't taste the grape. Whereas if you get other parts of the country...
Go to the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I think their Chardonnays are the best in California. But they're not as good as the Chardonnays in Ohio. There's a place called Marco that makes... I think, he's been around since 1968, and his Chardonnay is the one Steven Spurrier should have taken to Paris. Because it really does taste like Montrachet. You ever heard of Murli Dharmadkari?
No, I don't believe I have.
Well, he's the most important enologist in U.S. history. The little pint-sized Indian guy that went to Ohio State, and then he got hired by a winery in Nebraska. And then they hired him at Southwest Missouri State, and he was there for about 15 years. And then the Iowa State Legislature kidnapped him and gave him a nice salary and put him to work for Iowa State and Ames. And he has planted, between all those activities, almost 1,000 wineries all over the United States.
Wow.
So, Teleshef did about 200. And Murli hates oak, and he hates Malolactic. He likes to teach people to make wines that show the grape off and show the region off. And so that's why all this Midwestern wine is made in that simple, honest style. So he's retired now, but to me, he's a god. Most people can't pronounce his last name; they just call him Murli D. But he was really the Johnny Appleseed of the Midwest.
Let me spell his Murli M.
Murli.
Li. Okay, and his last name?
And his last name is Dharmadkari. Dharmadikari.
All right, because I want to look him up.
He's got a great little book called Microvinification that came out of Ohio State, and I always recommend that when I teach my class.
Yeah, Microvinification. Yeah, I'll go. I'm sure it's available on Amazon.
I don't know about that. You might have to get it from Ohio State.
Really?
Iowa State.
Right.
But I don't know. You could try.
Okay, Iowa State.
Let me see if I can go to that.
There's a paperback version. There's a paperback version on Amazon, but it's $124.98.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not what he used to go for.
Gotta try another source probably. From 2001, it looks like.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Oh. Maybe Microvinification is not a book that I will read on my leisure then at that point.
Oh, here you go. I've got it at, Presque Isle, don't you?
Yeah.
It's a winery in Pennsylvania. It's also a shop.
Mm-hmm.
They've got it for $49.99.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
That's better.
And here, Abe's book's got a used copy for $35.51.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've gotten lots of stuff from Presque Isle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but of course, with Amazon, you get the free shipping.
That's true. That's very true. That can save you, $5.
I get this pasta from Whole Foods for $4. It's a quinoa pasta. I get it for $4 a box. Or I can get it from Amazon, which is the same company, for $8 a box and free shipping.
But you get free shipping. You get free shipping. That's important. And you can get it that afternoon if you really want it.
Anyway, Merle's really important. If you go to my website, which is AppalachianAmerica.com, that's Appalachian as in naming, not the mountain range. You'll find a couple of video interviews with him that I did back in 2008, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been to your website. It is big.
I'm telling you, Iowa was making some really nice wines.
Who is?
And there's about 40 varieties that are really interesting. A lot of them coming from the University of Minnesota, handed down
Cornell.
from this guy named Elmer Svensson. Well, there's Cornell too, but University of Minnesota has cranked out a lot of them. There's a wonderful movie about all this. It's called Wine Diamonds.
Huh.
And it's on YouTube, and it follows 5 families around that are making wines in Illinois and Minnesota and all that. And it talks a lot about Elmer Svensson.
Oh, really?
Got started with these cold-tolerant varieties in Wisconsin, and then he gave all of his work to University of Minnesota. The wines to look for: La Crescent is a light, like Sylvaner or Riesling kind of thing.
Yeah.
Usually not
like
too sweet.
Like a Gewürztraminer only without the bite. Yeah.
It's much lighter on its feet than the good ones.
Yeah.
Then you got, if you like sweet, Brianna is awful good. In the reds, Petite Pearl. And there's
I've never
a thing
heard of
called
Petite
Crimson Cabernet. Oh, it's the hot new thing.
Oh, who was making that?
A couple hundred wineries in the Midwest.
Really?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
have I not heard of that? That is...
Well, it's relatively new. The other one that you'll see quite a lot of is Marquette.
Oh, yeah. You see
Petite Pearl
Marquette
is a little bigger. Yeah. I'm a big fan of St. Pepin in the whites.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a Loire style Muscadet or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that around. I have visited, and I continue to get emails from. Oh, geez, I just had it, and I've got a blank. It's tough when you get old and you can't remember stuff like this. Then Southeast Iowa. Oh, geez. But they make a lot of those different wines there too, and I've visited them, and I've had an opportunity to taste quite a few of them and all that. So that's a very good
when Merle got there, all there was 6 wineries, fruit wine from the Amana colonies. Mm-hmm. When he retired, there were over 100 wineries there. And I was just up in Minnesota for a family reunion, and I stopped by a winery that just blew my mind called Wine Haven. And they actually invented and patented 3 grapes that they've got.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the one just a wonderful red is called Nokomis. Does that ring a bell?
Nokomis, I've heard of Nokomis, and I can't remember why or where. But
it's
yes,
Hiawatha's mother.
Yeah, okay. That's
by the shores of Gitche Gumi, by the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. That's where it comes from, and it's really great.
My dad used to sing that or say that poem all the time. That's where I've.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. Nokomis was it red or white?
It's red. It's a big, dense red. You'd think it was a Syrah.
It's cold tolerant, obviously.
It goes to 40 below.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, and this is the thing that is going to keep us going. How about heat tolerant? Everybody talks about cold tolerant, but how about heat tolerant?
Well, it's not just, when you have climate change, I don't know if you guys in Florida believe in climate change, but I think.
We just.
Anyway, what you got to realize is vinifera, even before climate change, can only grow on near water because of its cold intolerance. So you got it on the West Coast, and you got it on the East Coast, you got it up near the Great Lakes, and that's it. So you're leaving out about 85% of the places you can plant grapes. And now those are all filled in by the native grapes. When we get to climate change, you're changing like insect populations, and you're getting all these plagues. Well, all these grapes are from here. And so they don't have to be grafted. They're mildew tolerant and pest tolerant. And so I'm a big fan of the Munson varieties. There's another guy that most people never heard of, but he saved the vineyard of Europe. He's the guy that's got the rootstocks over there. And, I consider him to be the most important viticulturist in world history. But he developed about 300, he bred and collected about 300 grape varieties and presented them in the World's Fair in St. Louis in 1905. So I've got a client, Vox Vineyards in Kansas City, that's planting about 65 of these varieties, and they're really good.
Where is he located in Kansas City? You say Kansas?
Yeah, he's kind of south of the airport, over on the west side.
Parkville area?
He's sitting on about 600 feet of glacial till.
Really?
So his soils have very low heat capacity. They warm up pretty good. They call it Little Dixie. And he's growing with the whites, Albania. They're crazy names. Albania is, I think, the best one. Hidalgo. And then in the reds, you've got Cloida, Lenoir, Lamonto.
I've heard of Lenoir.
Lenoir is sometimes called Black Spanish.
Okay, that's Black. Yeah, Lenoir. No, go on.
Well, you get on his site, and he tells a story of all these grapes, where they came from, and what they taste like, and all that.
What?
To me,
you have it.
It's Vox
you have
Vineyards,
a site?
I think.
Vox?
Yeah.
Okay.
VOX.
I'm going to be talking. That's Terravox. Yeah.
Terravox, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, Terravox.
Jerry
yeah.
Eisterhold
Jerry,
and
yeah.
his winemakers he's crazy. He's a museum architect. And so that's his day job. And then he decided to put in this living vineyard museum. And he wasn't really trying to make money. He just thought it would be fun. And then after about 10 years, he thought, well, we ought to see if we can make some money here. And so they hired me in 2012, and I built the winery for them, and they've really done well for themselves. They actually managed to get into the Spectator.
Oh.
And yeah, he's a real trailblazer.
Well, he's going to be the guest on the show on the 7th of September, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Great.
Well, the reason I'm asking is what area. I was born and raised in North Kansas City, and I'm very familiar with that area there. And I just trying to picture what area of vineyard is.
I'll see if I can dig out his address here. That will probably say something to you.
Because I guess I can ask him in a couple of weeks. That's not a problem either. Exactly where he is.
Okay, the address is out on Farley Hampton Road.
Okay.
Does that say anything to you?
No, it doesn't. But there's so many new areas up there now that it's just unbelievable.
Well, it's rural.
Yeah, it's rural. Around the airport is still pretty rural. They haven't, southeast and southwest of the airport is still pretty rural, and then north of there, but directly south of the airport is built up quite a bit. So,
well, do you know where Farley and Hampton are? Hampton is in the southwest corner of the airport.
Okay.
And Farley is due west over by the Platte.
Oh, okay.
And he's right in between the two.
So he's actually south of Weston and east of Weston. Southeast of Weston.
Weston, that's right. He's maybe 5 miles south of Weston.
Yeah. Okay.
And a little bit east.
Okay, southeast. That's very good soil there. They've been growing tobacco in that western area for years.
That's
and years.
Right. That's right. That's why they call it Little Dixie.
Okay, because of the tobacco industry up there, and then just north of Weston is a great area for apples, which will be coming out this time of year. So, for all of you people who live in the Midwest there, it is well worth a trip, not only just for the winery, but for the other stuff there.
And you're making a couple of points about why the Midwest can make better wine than California can. One of them is that we have really crappy soils. We don't have any limestone. We've got decomposed granite, and that's about it. Mostly sandy loams, just not very interesting soils. Where the whole rest of the country, Alabama is a big slab of limestone. So is Kentucky. And so they can make wines that are much more minerally, much more French style, just because of the soils. And then the other thing they got going for them is cool sunlight. When you get up, like in the Finger Lakes, for example, their day length in the summer is 2 hours longer than ours.
Oh, yeah.
And since they're on the water there, you're reflecting sunlight. So they get their Riesling riper at lower bricks. That's the third thing is California's air is way too dry. And so our grapes evaporate water, and we tend to make wines that have too much alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where, in Alabama, you're picking your muscadines. They come in 8-9% alcohol, and they're fully ripe because of the humidity.
No, yeah.
If you live in that area, you're probably not crazy about the humidity, but it makes really good wine.
Yeah, because it keeps the moisture in there and moisture in the grapes, yeah. But this California it's just crazy on their alcohol and their wines now. They're just going nuts on it. I've talked about that.
Well, some of that's
too.
by choice. I was just looking at the 1976 Grape Press Report, and the average bricks of a Cabernet Sauvignon in Napa Valley was 22.9, which gives you a little less than 13% alcohol. Whereas today, it's 25.6, which gives you
I was going to say about
20% alcohol.
Yeah,
and that's not because of climate change. That's just bad winemaking. It's quite cynical, really. That again, like the Chardonnay, they're just trying to make blockbusters that don't taste very good.
Yeah, they got people trained in this country that they got to have an oaky Chardonnay, and they got to have a buttery Chardonnay, and they got to have a big jammy Cabernet, and that's what you got to drink. And so people look for that, and they don't realize.
Well, I would say stupid rich people look for that.
Okay, granted.
That's who they're making wines for. I mean, at $300 a bottle, you and I are not shopping there.
No, that's not going to happen.
And it is a problem that there's a feeding frenzy we don't seem to be running out of stupid rich people, and so they sort of have to make the wines that way, even if they hate them.
That's a good point. Because it's as long as you got a market, you got to cater to it, and if they can.
Well, you don't. You really don't. And there are some wineries in Napa, like Burgess and Chateau Montelena, that they expect the consumer to dribble down the other end of the court and shoot their basket. They make beautiful wines. And Napa is a wonderful place to make Cabernet, but it's not if you're making raisin wine.
Yeah, but
people say the wines are port-like, and I say, well, that's an insult to port.
You're absolutely right.
Ports are not picked over ripe, and they have a lot of character.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
So it's a sad situation.
Okay, I want you to tell us a little bit about some the beginnings of our little history of Native American grapes. Why? Okay. Why did we?
Well, and we haven't even mentioned Norton yet.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Norton fan. And Norton, what's so exciting about Norton is you can make it sweet, you can make it dry, you can do just so much with it. It's really an exciting grape.
Horton, there's a Virginia winery called Horton that makes the Norton port. Norton is. It was discovered in the woods in 1820 by Dr. Norton. It is a hybrid of two grapes, and they're not sure what they are. They happened out in the woods, or it may have been Norton that did it. But they're both they're not Vitis vinifera, they're Vitis estivalis. Turns out there are almost 100 grape species. Vinifera is only one, and that's the one from Europe. So almost all the rest of them evolved in the New World. So Texas and Missouri, kind of a hotbed of all of these different varieties. But this was Virginia. And the wine it's kind of incredible. It's got, when you make wine, you're a winemaker, so you know that when the wine goes dry, you're using this Brix hydrometer to look at the density. And because alcohol is lighter than water, when the wine goes dry, it's going to be about -1.5 Brix, where 0 is water. But that's not what happens in Norton. The only grape I know that stops at about 0. So that means it's got 1.5% of something. I think it's a polysaccharide that gives the wine incredible density and mouthfeel, like a microbrew beer. And that coats the tannins. It's got a lot of tannin, but the tannins are very soft. And if you get it right, now it's got really high acid, so you got to get it right, and you have to plant it someplace where it will ripen and lower that acidity, and then you just get, it's like drinking blueberry pie. You're very rich, dark fruit. Now, the problem with Norton is there's about 500 of them, wineries that make it, but a lot of them are planting it for its winter tolerance and its disease tolerance, and they're putting it in places where it can't ripen. So you will get some that aren't very good. Now, he actually named the grape Cynthiana.
Yeah, I was going to say, it goes by Cynthiana in West Virginia.
His daughter, Cynthia. But after he died, they kind of started calling it Norton. So now, basically, if the wine is really good, you call it Norton. If it's not, you call it Cynthiana.
Oh, that's.
But I happen to be the only guy in California that makes Norton. And
you're making Norton there?
I grow it in Clarksburg with the Herringer family. And it's just wonderful. It's really something. Although, I'm coaching Jean-Louis there at Terravox. My Norton gets a gold every year at San Francisco Chronicle competition, but his gets a double gold. So, yeah, he's really got a good place to go to. And there's several others there. St. James and probably the star is Stonehill.
Yeah.
And do you know that Stonehill was called something else? But back in 1878, there was an international competition in Vienna that gave out 11 international gold medals, and 8 of them were to Missouri wines. 3 of those were Nortons. At that time, Stonehill was the 3rd largest winery in the world.
Yes.
And they sold the most popular wine in the world, which was their Norton.
Norton, yeah. Yeah, Missouri was the wine area of the United States and almost the world up until Prohibition, and that killed them.
Right.
And by the time it was settled and California had taken over, and Missouri was just sort of an afterthought. But
so why do you think California took over?
Well, I think one of the reasons is the number of wineries, the tourist aspect of it. Napa Valley's got.
No, I'm talking about in 1934.
Oh, why it took over in 34?
Was it? Well, it's just the end of Prohibition.
Yeah, it was the end of Prohibition. Yeah, and it just ended Prohibition, and a lot of the wineries in Missouri didn't survive, and California started to pop them all up.
Well, it's true. Stone Hill turned into a mushroom facility.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't Napa Valley that made it happen.
Who? Oh, really?
Have you ever read The Grapes of Wrath?
Yeah, years ago. Yeah, it was.
Okay, so you've got Dust Bowl labor, which is essentially free.
Right.
You have very cheap land, and you have the WPA putting dams in so that you had water that was essentially free.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so it all happened down in Kern County in the Central Valley, and what they were doing was selling port for 19 cents a bottle.
Oh, I didn't know
You couldn't do that in the Midwest. You could only make premium grapes there.
Can do
Let me ask you a question. What was the average alcohol of a California wine in 1960?
1960. I'm probably going to go high on that. I'd say probably about 17% on the reds.
Good for you. It was 18.5.
18.5. Wow, even higher than I expected.
We did not make any table wine. 5% of the production, table wine. All the rest of it was port and sherry for 30 years.
Never realized that.
So,
but you don't hear about that though.
That's what California got famous for was making port and sherry. The little old ladies and Sacramento wine.
I never knew that one. Well then, what was the conversion then over to the?
Well, no, that's an interesting story. What do you think was the average alcohol of a California wine in 1970?
In 1970, it had to drop. It had to drop down to, for a red, 13%.
There really wasn't any red wine.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was 11%. And what changed everything was Blue Nun.
Oh. And
okay,
probably
so
Matus is imported. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's part of the same story. But there's some kind of index. I forget what it's called, of how long you can get into a conversation before somebody mentions Hitler and the Nazis.
Mentions what? I'm sorry.
Hitler.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find it. Index Hitler. Because this is all about Hitler. It is. There's some guy that I can't find it. All right. Well, anyway, we never would have split the atom if it had not been for Hitler scaring the Jesus out of Godwin's Law.
Godwin's Law. Okay.
Godwin. Okay, and it's an internet adage of how long a thread can go on before somebody mentions Hitler and the Nazis. So here we are. Like I said, it was unbelievably expensive to split the atom. The Manhattan Project was not cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And we were only doing it because we were afraid the Nazis were going to get there first.
Right.
So then, paradoxically, we didn't end up bombing Germany. We bombed Japan.
Yeah.
But anyway, then everybody wanted to come up with peacetime uses of nuclear energy. And one of them, paradoxically, a German company called Nuclear, came up with a integrity testable sterile filter. that was manufactured in an atomic pile. And you just take a sheet of plastic and you put it in there. The alpha particles punch holes in the plastic. You develop it in fluoric acid, and the longer you leave it in there, the bigger the holes get. So you could make reverse osmosis for filtering the salt out of seawater. U.S. Navy was really hot on that. And sterile filters, I'm sure you've used them. We call it bubble pointing, where you test the filter before and after the run. Well, we didn't have those prior to World War II, and so all wine was dry, except port and sherry and dessert wines. And champagne, because the bubbles keep champagne from re-fermenting.
Right.
So, well, I won't drag us all into why I think brut champagne is horrible, but I mean, it got famous. You know, the sec, the dry one, was 6% sugar. It's twice the sugar of the Southern Wines Indigo. But they had to switch over to brut, even though originally brut was just an insult to the British, because only an animal would drink wine like that. That's what it means. But anyhow, Peter's the show. He's got this Liebfrau milk. It was dry. It was a Riesling Sylvaner mix. But when he got the Newport filters, then he could make it a little off dry and fresh. And nobody had ever had a wine like that before. So somewhere in the mid-'60s, Blue Nun came out as a sweet Liebfrau milk, and then the California wine industry went completely nuts, and they switched over to Gallo Chablis, Almaden Rhine wine, Winning Gray Riesling, Weibel Green Hungarian. These were all 11% alcohol and 2% sugar. And that's all we made until the French Paradox came along. We started drinking red wine. But that was the whole industry in the space of 10 years. Got rid of all the port and sherry and started making Liebfrau milk.
And I remember every one of those wines that you just mentioned there. I mean, those were the ones. You'd go to a party and there'd be bottles of those wines.
Right, and mostly they were imports like Lancers and Matus. Fontana Vendita Frascati, Bola Suave, but they were all made that way. Winning Gray Riesling was the only one that really, was the largest selling wine in the United States in 1973.
Yeah, but I remember all those.
All the rest were imports.
Was the wines that everyone drank, And there was no reds. You're right. There was absolutely no reds. There's the rest didn't.
A little bit of Gallo Hardy Burgundy and some of the Derby.
Gallo Hardy Burgundy was the red that most people drank. But I hadn't thought about that for years, but that's very true there. So the native grapes in this country, Norton obviously came around, but the original ones, the Foxy grapes, have those all been blended into?
I hate the word Foxy. Nobody really knows what it means, but I think you might be talking about Labrusca, which is to say Concord. So the grapey stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
It's sometimes called the fox grape.
But
it's very fruity. Still very popular. There's a wine in New York State called Red Cat, and it's the largest selling wine in New York State. Not only is it the largest selling, but it outsells all the rest of the industry combined.
Oh,
and it's
really?
It's Walter's grape juice with alcohol in it, basically.
Oh my God!
And it's kind of tasty. But I do want to stress that these other varieties we're talking about are not foxy.
No, but no, I was just referring to the fact that the grapes that were here when America first started to move across the country, I had read somewhere and that they were of the fox grapes. That's what they were called. And were these?
Well, that's the Concords and the Niagaras, and that's Vitis labrusca.
Oh, okay.
Well, the first thing that happened was you had Munson down in Texas in the 19th century. And then you got, there were varieties that were developed in France because you had phylloxera in the 1890s. Right. And they wanted to breed grapes that had phylloxera resistance but still had European characteristics. So the star in that of the French American hybrids was Chambourcin. And I got to tell you, well, here's another trivia question. What was the first American AVA?
Very first one was in Missouri.
That's right, Augusta, Missouri.
Yeah.
And there's a winery there called Augusta Winery, and they make a Chambourcin. For some reason, it retails for $11.86, and you can put that in a $50 Burgundy tasting, and it'll do just fine.
Oh yeah,
really a wonderful wine. So Chambourcin is kind of like Pinot Noir.
So many hybrids?
And then you have, and it's a French-American hybrid, yeah. And then you have Sauvignon Blanc and Vidal Blanc. There's a whole bunch of them.
Oh, those all French-American hybrids?
Yes. Now, Sauvignon Blanc, if you go to Wiederkehr in Wisconsin, they've got something they call Prairie Fumé, and it goes for about $10, and it consistently wins awards at wine competitions as the best white wine in the United States.
Whoa!
And it's all Sauvignon Blanc.
Wow! So it's
just delicious.
A drier profile, a little bit of acid.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, wow.
And very fresh, just delicious stuff. $10.
They're not oaking the hell out of it or anything,
Never sees that.
That's good.
Like I said, nobody really over oaks anything in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Because of Merlot. And they don't have to because their grapes have great flavor.
And they take care of themselves. Like, again, if it's over oaked, then there's something wrong with it.
Right.
Another question for you: American native grapes. How are they going to hold up to things like, the spotted lanternfly or, all these other introduced pests that we are getting in the country?
Well, we're going to find out, right? And I don't know the answer to that. The spotted lanternfly is certainly a concern. But in general, like I said, because they are native, they have pretty good tolerance, to insects and mildews in general.
Yeah.
The vinifera are always the first to go.
Seems to be always the one that is attacked and the one that they worry about the most. Oh.
Yeah.
But
we don't really. It hasn't been around long enough to learn just how bad it is. But I have a picture of phylloxera now. We think of phylloxera as a root disease, but it actually has a wing form.
Yeah,
we don't get it in California. It's something to do with the dryness. but I've got a picture of a leaf of an Albania plant in Jerry Eisterholt's vineyard that's just covered with phylloxera galls, and the vine is fine.
Really?
You know, it's just totally resistant.
Well, that's amazing. Well, you know, you mentioned resistance, though. A winery just north of here, I say just north of the next county, that far, just that close, just north, has been growing Norton for what? 10 years now, 11 years, and he has not had any problems with Pierce disease. Whenever he has it tested that it's infected, but the grapes the vines are thriving. And
there you go. Well, Pierce's disease, of course, is native to America.
Yeah. And these Nortons are.
Yeah, I'm not a bit surprised.
Doing well, you know. So he was concerned. He was really concerned when he first planted it, but it's going well. So.
You know, part of the benefit here is that you don't need to use as many sprays. So there's a lot less pesticides and chemicals and stuff in many of these Native Americans where they have to spray the vinifera.
Yeah, and when the big movement of biodynamic and organic and all that other stuff, I visited a winery in California a few years ago, and went out to the vineyards. I asked the manager in charge of the vineyards, I said, "Are you organic?" He goes, "Every spring we are until we get infested, and then we become not organic." I love that answer. Yeah. So, Mike, you have any questions, comments, or anything for Clark?
I'm checking online too. Just want to make sure I'm not nothing there local. I don't have anything, no, but just taking a lot of notes. That's what I do in the background.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised you can keep up. He's throwing so much information out here. Yeah. Clark, I told you it'd be about an hour tonight, and so I'm going to let you go, but I want to reserve the opportunity for you to come on again.
Sure. If you don't mind, before we go, I'd like to plug my book and my class.
I would love you to plug everything that you do and all that. Yes, I was just going to give you that opportunity. And also website and contact information if anyone wants to get a hold of you about anything, and your books and everything. Give us the whole.
Well, my website has a very simple name. It's whoisclarksmith.com.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Because I do a lot of things. So I wrote 2 books. One is Postmodern Winemaking, was the 2013 Wine and Spirits Magazine Book of the Year.
Wow.
And I wrote it for 2 reasons. One is to have an open conversation with winemakers about basically all the things they taught us in school that just ain't so. And a way of switching from making clean, safe wine to making great wine. And then the other reason was to allow, about half the people buy this book are just wine lovers that want to know what's going on, what winemakers really talk about. And, you know, we're like rock stars, you know, there's a privacy, a kind of guardedness, particularly with the natural wine people firing live ammo over our heads every time we tell the truth. So, you know, just to explore the notion of honesty, to heal this kind of bad marriage between wine lovers and, I mean, we're not crooks, you know. If these people are smart and dedicated. They could have been lawyers. They could have been doctors. but instead they chose to be something like a jazz musician. Don't ever do it unless you have to, because there's no money in it. And I think they deserve a little more respect. So that's one book. And the other one is called A Practical Guide to Pairing Wine and Music.
Wine and music?
It's just, I can make you love or hate anything with my iPod. I think wine really is liquid music. And, for example, if you're drinking a Cabernet and you play a polka, it's going to taste terrible.
Yeah,
but if you
right.
play something dark and sort of angry, like The Doors, People Are Strange, or Beethoven's Fifth, then the wine gets round and sweet. It's kind of crazy. So they can explore all that on pairingwineandmusic.com.
That sounds interesting. A pairing wine and music, a practical guide to pairing wine and music. Okay.
But there's also, you don't even have to buy the book. There's a bunch of maybe 30 playlists there that you can download from Spotify for free. So if you're having Cabernet Franc, you can just download that playlist and enjoy your dinner.
And there you go. Also, don't forget your website, www.appellation, APPELATION, AppellationAmerica.com. And I've seen that is an afternoon. I'm talking 12:01 noon to 6 o'clock in the evening, a full afternoon read. There's a lot of stuff there.
Well, it's got 30,000 pages, so I don't think that's going to cover it. But it is a great little place to look up these, the wines of Iowa or whatever. There's a lot of articles on there and maps. So then for those of you who are interested in upping your game as a winemaker, I have a class called Winemaking Fundamentals Made Easy that basically condenses the essentials of a winemaking degree, enology degree. Normally takes 4 years, and we do it all in a weekend. I don't really leave much out. So it's very, very popular, even with experienced winemakers that want to kind of brush up their game. And that can be found, on my website, whoisclarksmith.com. You can get there, or just type in modernwinechemistry.com.
modernwinechemistry.com. That's an easy way to do it. Is your class an online class or what?
Yeah, it's 88 10-minute videos recorded, so you can do it at your own pace.
Oh,
we
wow.
throw in a hard copy of a 550-page syllabus on just about every winemaking topic, plus a little mini consult with me to adapt the material to your particular situation.
I would find that interesting. I'm not making wine anymore, but that would be something that I think I would find very interesting. I'll have to check that out myself. So, thank you, Clark, so much. It was extremely interesting and enjoyable talking with you. And I will, like I say, hold out the possibility of you coming back on the show again, and we can continue the conversation and talk more about what you got Vitis vinifera, Vitis astivilis, and there's lots of others, talking about those and the differences of those.
Berlandia,
yeah.
Okay.
There's
we can get into more detail. That would be fun.
I like to do that, too. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us tonight, and it was enjoyable, and I will look forward to our next conversation.
My very great pleasure, Ron. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Well,
That was that. I found that very interesting. I hope everybody else out there did. I thought that was very interesting.
A lot of information. Very, very knowledgeable. Very, yeah.
No, yeah,
all
very
aspects.
knowledgeable.
So, yeah,
gee,
very good.
I passed my test. He asked me questions, and I did good. Wow.
Okay. I didn't know there was a test down here, but okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was very interesting. I will definitely get him on again and talk about stuff. A couple of weeks we have Jerry Eisenberg on, and he has Terravox Winery, and he's the one that's doing a lot of those experiments with the different grapes up there in Missouri. And so I need to fly up and visit my sisters and go out and visit with Jerry. It looks like it's going to have to be.
From there. Just bring an extra microphone and plug it in.
Yeah, just do a live broadcast.
Here we are live.
Yeah.
Terravox.
Here we are live.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Take the jet. Take the jet.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah.
So,
all right. Yeah. Well,
so that was. Let's see, 30.
A lot of information.
Yeah. We still have another guest next week. Terry Shimrick, looks like. August 31st, what I have written down here.
He is our next guest, and Terry is a movie. He did a movie, and so we're going to get him on. He and his brother are directors of a movie. Toby. Yeah, thank you.
Toby,
I was thinking Todd. I knew that wasn't right.
Tobin James, I think is how I wrote it. Brother. Tobin, Tobin. Okay. Just want to make sure I got it right, spelled right. He'll be on also later in September.
He will be visiting us also. Cool. So we got lots of stuff coming up here. And a lot of interviews. And I was just telling Mike before the show, I've been talking to other people, and it looks like we might be booked all the way through to the end of September with guests. Good possibility. I've got some that are supposed to get back to me to confirm, but as of right now, it looks like we're booked all the way through to the end of September. So,
which is a good thing. Yeah.
Stay tuned. And then the 1st of October, we might get our cigar guys back on again and do another cigar show.
You know, when he first got on the phone, I thought just listening, if I close my eyes, not like I can tell either way, but just listening to his voice, I thought that was Cap. Just a little hint. I listened and I go, wait a minute, is that really? And I almost went,
is this a joke?
Yeah, I was like, hold on a second. They just have that kind of like the same flow and just I don't know. There's something similar about it that just kind of threw me off for a little bit. And every once in a while I hear him, I
know what you mean.
That sounds just like Cap. I don't know what's going on here.
They've got this a teacher tone, and it flows right out, and it's easier to follow and stuff like that. And so, I understand what you're saying on that.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna
fun show.
Do it for tonight. Yeah, tonight. Do it for this evening on August the 24th. Might do another replay on Sunday, like I did last week on Flightline Radio. So if you're for some reason want to catch it there, you can. But I did a repeat of last Thursday's show last Sunday, and because they're being recorded
did you?
here. Yeah. I put it on. I think it was 11 a.m. to 12 something p.m. whenever the show ends, but just played it on the thing, put it on the schedule. So probably do that again this week. So
very good.
So
thank you.
Just trying to get more time.
Speaking of Flightline Radio, flightlineradio.com.
Yeah, thank you.
You should have that memorized. you know.
Yeah.
And then Saturday morning, 7 to 9, which is too early for me. I never get up on
it's
Saturday
too early
morning.
for me also.
Time to listen to you.
Yeah, I get up around 8:30, but it's just
No.
I mean, I'm here, but not mentally.
All right.
Yeah, spinning the record.
I'm taking a half hour of request, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Better hurry. I got much time.
Better hurry.
Nah, I'm in here, but sometimes I run.
But, whitelineradio.com.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike's Live, 7 to 9 Saturday mornings, and Flightline Radio is on 24/7.
It is.
And then it sounds like he's replaying the All About Wine show on Sunday mornings at 11.
11 till about 12 or whenever the show ends. It starts. So, yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just getting some more show times out there. And it's almost 20 minutes after 8 o'clock, and we're going to close the show. Yeah, I know. Close the show here for tonight. And we'll see you all next Thursday right here on All About Wine. I appreciate everybody listening in.
Thanks for listening. Be safe.
Be safe. Thank you. There we go.
This concludes tonight's broadcast of All About Wine with your host, Ron. For show information, links to All About Wine on Twitter and Facebook, or to be a guest on this show, visit the show website at www.allaboutwinebtr.com. Archived shows are available for download on iTunes or on our show page at blogtalkradio.com/allaboutwine. Thank you for listening. Drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time on All About Wine.
All About Wine.